Hello everyone, my name is Michael Kiche, journalist by profession. 5 years of experience. I mean, it's not much, but yes, 5 years of experience in journalism. I'm a graduate of Maseno University, Communication and Media Department, majoring in electronic media. I have been in this industry in different places and capacities, that is in radio, both radio and television. I've been in Kenya and also Rwanda for the same, but mostly when I was in Rwanda, I worked on radio. I was on radio station, though radio used to be my thing way back from the times of university. So we used to have this community radio station, Equator FM, and I used to have my show there, open mic. Wow, it was big in campus, you know. And people would listen to us. I used to work with another lady who's now who now works in Kisumu, and you know, we used to have this great chemistry and combination, which was awesome, and students loved listening to us. From there on, just immediately after university, I graduated and moved on, and I remember some of the first things that I did for myself was, it was just independent production. We teamed up with a former student of Maseno University. This guy had studied business, but then he loved production. He was just so much into media, and we just picked it right off there in Kisumu. So we used to try and do a little bit of things here and there. I used to be, those are the times, we just multitask. You're looking for business deals, you're doing the editing, you're writing the proposals and all that kind of thing. From there on, came to Nairobi, worked in bank, yes, for a few months. Man, it was tough. I tried marketing, and that stuff is hard. I mean, kudos to every marketer who's been out there in this field. It's real hard. Marketing in Nairobi, I can tell you, is tough. If you make it here, you can make it big anywhere in Africa or even beyond. And during the time when I was doing my marketing, I landed an opportunity to be trained by Midiva, Media Development in Africa. It's a very good entity that has been training people year in, year out for more than a decade. Apparently, I think we were the last of the alumni to be trained. So that was 2014. And immediately after my training off, I was to Rwanda. So that is where I worked on radio station for about a year, slightly over a year. And then I came back to Kenya and just decided to continue my career from home. Okay, so as a journalist, and particularly in Kenya, you just have to be able to multitask, do a variety of tasks, all in one at the same package. So I would tell you that yes, I can direct, I've been a producer, an editor, but I also do voiceovers. I'm a voiceover artist, and I've done a few for Hope Channel, not a few, I'd say a number of them. I don't even know the count, but I've done a number of them for Hope Channel Kenya, including you are watching Hope Channel Kenya, Light in the Family. And oh yes, I did one for Ameru Festival last year for Meru County, Ameru Festival. They were having the Ameru Festival, and we were given that. I got that opportunity to do that. This Easter, all roads lead to the 2-day Ameru Festival to be held at Meru Technical, something like that. It was on TVs, and I think you guys, everybody saw it. Well, to qualify as a journalist, what is it that you need? For one, you must have sat for your KCSE. And there are particular strengths which they'll be looking for, mainly languages, that is English and Kiswahili. Of course, there's the overall mean grade, which also determines, according to the Kenyan standards, C+ and above would allow you to be admitted in any university. Though I would also advise that let us not all have this mind and thought of I always just want to be in so and so university, this and this university, that and that university. No, there are also other colleges and institutions that offer diploma, despite your performance, which may not be something that would give you an intake into a university. You can go for the diploma course, and once you're done with your diploma, then you can step it up and go in for your degree course. So key languages, that is a must for somebody in the media industry, because in as much as you could be doing background work, communication still at the end of the day is important. It's always teamwork, and the success of any media team is always hinged on communication, effective communication, so to say. So other than languages, well, proceed to any of these institutions. You can always look around, do your research, go to the internet, find out where do we have the best media institutions, and watch out, be keen and see whether they have equipment for training. I remember I did that mistake I went immediately after my Form 4. I went to Uganda. I wanted to study my media in Uganda, only to get there a few months later and realize that this institution actually, they didn't have equipment, no cameras, no studio, no nothing. And the best part here is that, when you get to Uganda, we as Kenyans, since we have different education systems, you have to bridge into their system. So you do what they call a foundation course. So it takes you 6 months to do foundation course, then start on your bachelor's degree course. So during my foundation course, as I did my research and analysis, I noticed, no, this is not the best environment for me. So I came back to Kenya and started afresh. So I wasted half a year out there. And that meant I went a year later into starting to study my degree program. So check out, again, what do they have the facilities? What is it that institution has put in place to ensure that they have quality graduates or students coming out of that particular institution? Of course, there's evidence all over. You know them. You watch the media. You know the big names. Find out which institutions were they in. But if it's too much for you, don't have to struggle and go for the high-end institutions. If you can't pay that so much of fee in institution A, well, just get something that is just, affordable, but at the same time, they are able to help you achieve what you're looking for in terms of career and professionalism. I don't know what to say about the highs and the lows, but you see, in media we do a lot, and I hope only I can capture some of those best moments for me and some of the low moments for me. And my high, I guess it could be one time in Rwanda when BBC Two broadcasted a documentary, and with regards to Rwandan political landscape, which was really, really giving a bad show about the Rwandan government. And I remember when I did the story and I was trying to follow it up right from the guys at BBC in London, I actually managed to get a response from BBC London. And when we ran the story that evening, and another international radio station was able to pick up our story out of the fact that we were able to get a response from BBC London, because other people were trying, people were just reaching a dead end, people couldn't just get any answers. And the whole country was wild, and the political class, there was a lot of heat. So I was really happy that I did good research work with regards to that, and I took my time, I went in depth, and I pushed on. I remember I got the response when it was just about 10 minutes before we went live. 10 minutes before we went live on air is when BBC guys sent me an email in response to our queries with regards to that story. So it was really amazing and really interesting for me to having done that piece. The laws. I think the laws would just take my memory as far back as university. I don't know whether I should mention that. But there was this one time that Safaricom had this competition. There was an advert, we were to create an advert about, I don't know, the use of, the short codes, the star 100 hash, that kind of thing. And so it was being done in all universities. And when guys made their submissions, every university, you'd come up with groups of, I think, about 6. And then they would pick a group, not necessarily, but hopefully they would pick a group from your institution to represent your institution at the higher level. The group which I was put in charge was picked. But I can tell you, the work that we did vis-a-vis the work that was done by other students in other university was mediocre, was just a joke. And somebody, commented about it on newspaper, on a Sunday newspaper. When I read that, I just thought, this whole thing has just been, I've just been living in a bubble. It's a dream. And my dream is not going to come true, because the truth is, when it was just to compare what we did and what other institutions did, wow, that was bad. That was bad experience. Well, now let me welcome you to the process of production, the background process, what you don't see. You only see the end result, but there are things that you don't see. Number 1, research. There's always research that has been done in the background. Research. Somebody somewhere sat down, researched, and having researched, came up with a proposal. So proposal would either be solicited or unsolicited, could be done by either employees or non-employees of that particular media entity. But after doing research is what actually brings on board, or brings to the table rather, what is it that's going to be done. So from research, then an idea comes out of it. And having done your research and understood, okay, we're having gaps, because basically the reason why you'd want to do research is to understand what are the existing gaps, and then how do you fill in those gaps, depending on your broadcast content, depending on the policies and of that media organization. So you come up with a proposal, state what is it that you'd like to do, over what period of time, what kind of personnel do you need, how much do you want to go into the project. It doesn't cost us 0 shillings, no. There is some value to it. And are there people that you'd like to bring on board that are not available within your in-house media production? So having done your research, done your proposal, the proposal then is moved to the producers, the producer to the producers of the shows. But in other circles, because depending on the size of the organization, it dictates the kind of personnel they have. So there are other media entities that they have people who are just dealing with content development. Okay, they just have people dealing with content development. Theirs is to receive the proposals, take a look at it, see if it fits within their policies, lines, budgeting, and all that kind of thing. Panel beat it a little bit, then present it for execution. So having done a proposal, has been presented and it has been okayed by the producers, well, the team now comes together. It's now being pieced together to become something functional. So who are the people that are required? Do you need guests? In other words, people from outside? Do you need personalities, people who are speaking from an authoritative point of view? Maybe your show needs the Inspector General of Police. Who else does it need? The president? Who else does it need? or do you want to talk to other media personalities in other media houses? That is just how you've packaged your program. So you want to look at all those modalities. Who are the people that you're going to have? Bring them together, then now work it out. Number one, scripting. Do the script. Other shows are fully scripted, e.g. news. News is fully scripted, every word for word. You know, growing up as a child, we used to think, these guys must be having some very awesome and amazing cramming abilities and capabilities, because they just simply stand on camera and they talk. Little did I know that there's something called a teleprompter right in front of them, and a teleprompter runs that script. They're able to read from it. So the viewer at home does not see the teleprompter because the wordings on it are so big for the camera to just zoom in and capture the wordings. So the scripting part of it. Scripts can be full script or semi-scripts. So it becomes the guideline. You must just do a script. No show is run without a script. Yes, there are personalities, more so on radio, who do their thing just off the cuff like that. But it's not advisable for other formats of other programs, because you either leave out some particular content or you find yourself going out of context. You understand? And you can speak of things that you didn't have to talk about. So, and things that might put you in problems and even bring legal challenges to that particular media entity. So that's basically why we do scripting. So when you do your script again, in your script you have to include things like camera shots, things like words to be said, at what point in time and how long. All that is determined, predetermined actually. When that is done, then it's being discussed together with the director, the cameraman, as well as the producer of the show. The producer of the show actually oversees the entire production. So sitting on top of a production is the producer of the show, and for him is actually, he becomes the networking man or woman, or let me just say the networking point of all these other mini aspects of the production. So the research team, he brings it together, he brings in the show host, he brings in, the script writer, he brings in the guests, he brings in the floor managers, he brings in the cameramen. All these people work cordially with the producer. So when they look at the script, then the script is able to tell us what is it that happens where. But remember, for us at the back end, we're using what you call a running order. So a running order defines to us what is it that we need to do at what point and at what time. That is just for us. The script basically is for the host. So then as the show progresses, we are able to follow through the running order from the beginning right through to the end. So then there's the preparation aspect to it. Right before you go, you watch any show. Let me speak of live show. There's a lot happening in the background, a lot. There's the sound team. And remember, the visual is nothing without the sound. Basically, when you're watching news and you don't hear what the presenter is telling you, you definitely switch. Take your remote and switch to another station. So sound is key. Sound is the mother of them all. It starts from sound. So there is the sound team, which works in sync with the visual team. And in order to enable all this, then that is when we are able to use these ones for our ability to communicate to one another, the intercom system. So we're having talkbacks. So we put on this one so that again it doesn't get too noisy within the studio environment. We need a lot of silence, and connect them to talkbacks and or the intercom system. So then we are able to talk to one another, give directions to one another, so that even in times of crisis, the viewer at home is not going to see that. We've had lots of crises. So many of the times on live events for Hope Channel Kenya, I've been the floor manager, and most of the blunders that happen, you don't get to see them because I take care of them without you seeing me. So I coordinate a lot with the producer, with the directors, with the cameraman, with everybody. We need to know what's happening, who's coming in next. So we have to know that order. And in terms of sound, are they having the microphones? Are the microphones on? Are they powered up? What kind of microphone are they going to use on stage? And if we're having an audience, because there are certain shows that you run and you're having an audience seated within that particular setup, then are they also able to hear the person speaking? So it is all multifaceted, all coordinated by one person, the producer. But I can tell you, it is a concerted effort. It's like an orchestra. You bring in different musicians. There's a violinist here. There's somebody on the keyboard, somebody on the piano, somebody on the guitar, somebody on the drum, somebody on the bass guitar. All these people, eventually, when you hear that tune, it is music to your ears. So then what happens is that when the guest arrives and has been received by our production assistants, handed over to the floor manager for briefing, the makeup. They start with the makeup, they do the makeup for them so that, we don't have, somebody sweating on set. We have very bright lights in studios. So they set up, they do the makeup. Then from the makeup, we do the miking and we do the testing of their sound. So we put the microphones on them. If it's the handheld microphones, we give it to them. We tell them to test the sound so that we know the sound quality and whether we're receiving it at good signal strength. Then when they get on set, of course, they get acquainted with the host. The host would tell them definitely the absolute areas that they are going to, the scope of what they're going to touch on. Of course, the host would not reveal to you the questions. And the same has actually been done for the host, except that now the host has an in-depth knowledge of even the things that I talk about today, the background happenings. But remember, the host also has this for the purpose of direction. So the host does not only have a microphone, but also has this. I think you've seen that often on TV for news presenters. So that in case of anything, in case, let me say, of breaking news, then the producers are able to tell them, hey, there's some breaking news. And they're able to pull that up on the screens and they'll read that. Or in case of any technical hitch, they are told exactly what to do. So when they're on set, we have the lighting system, very bright. We have a lighting console here that turns on the lights because there are a number of lights inside the studios. And this lighting console, it even determines the intensity of light that we are picking from it. So you can see there are so many buttons here. That can be a lesson for another day. But the buttons actually dictate which, every line is just meant for every light, which kind of light we know, we understand, and what intensity do we want that light, depending on the kind of show we are doing. Then we have the cameramen behind the cameras who are framing the shots. They have to get the perfect framing of the shots. But as they do that and give the proper settings of the camera, they have to be set, they have to do white balancing, they have to get the right picture composition. While they do that, inside here, the space that you see me here today, this is the what some people call it gallery, others call it the director's booth. So this is where everything happens from here. So on that other side where you have the studio is only the guest, the host, and the cameraman. All that feed is received in this particular room by the director. The director is the one that tells the cameraman how to frame their shots, whom to focus on, and what to do. He is also able to hear the sound quality and any other interferences. There are other interferences, by the way, in the background. You could be having air conditioners in the background, and at times they get too loud for the sound, so maybe they have to turn them off and that kind of thing. So they're able to hear all that from this particular place. So basically what we're having here, this is the visual mixer, this is the audio mixer, then the preview screens. So from here, actually, he's able to determine and decide what camera shots to pick based on the number of cameras that are available inside the studios. Basic shooting, the basic shooting approach would always be 3 cameras, one to the right, to the left, and then the main camera at the center. At times we can use 2, but so that we have one main camera and the other one meant for what we call cutaways. So all those shots are received right here. He's able to tell even the contrast in terms of colors because at times the colors they don't look as real as they are on the set. And the main aim usually is to be as real as what is on the set. We don't need to overdo it, neither do we want it underdone. So that is what you are able to see from these particular screens. So they determine the settings by looking at these screens, they determine the settings of the cameraman, but then they make the choices of the camera shots by looking at this particular screen. So he decides, okay, camera one. So if it's camera one that's rolling and he wants to use that shot, he'll tell the cameraman, because the cameraman is able to hear from the other end. This place is all soundproof. The other side, they can't hear us. So they tell them, camera one, you're live. So he knows. He stays still on his shot. And then he prepares cameraman two and says, camera two, get me this kind of shot, stand by. So he knows. If he's told to stand by, then he knows from camera one, he's going to move to camera two for the shot. So camera two also gets prepared. Now, those particular shots, when they are received here, there are two ways to it. If it's a live event, we are able to send it to the transmission room, which is also a totally different side away from here. Where now the transmission room, it picks up this particular signal, and that is what the viewer at home is watching at that particular minute. If it's not a live event, we're having our computers here for recording purposes, because other shows are pre-recorded and then will be edited. So we receive it here, record it here, and then they'll be taken to an editing suite. But if it is not to be taken to an editing suite, it's all done here. All the visual mixing, all the effects that we need to put to it is all done here. And then the transmission room, we're also able to feed in the graphics. For example, a logo, you'll always see a logo right at the corner. You'll always see some writings down at the bottom. So that can be fed two ways, either from here, or we can feed it from the transmission room. So that at the end, at the back end of what the viewer is watching at home, basically is a decision that has been made right here. The final decision is here. The transmission room only receives it to air it out there to our viewers. So for the content that does not proceed live on air, usually it's taken to an editing suite, or for others it's an editing room. And thank God today or nowadays editing is digital, so it's simply done from computers that are cut out for that particular job. So they use softwares like Final Cut Pro for that particular editing aspect. And during the editing process, that is where they add all the graphics and all the background music and the titles, the subtitles, the phone numbers, and all that kind of thing, so that to make it look actually like a program. Because when you just capture this work on camera, it has nothing, literally, no wordings, no nothing, no sequencing, and that is why, again, you don't get to see the places that people made errors. People do make a lot of errors, I can tell you. Behind the scenes, wow, what on a shrub. So we have to check out all that. And the same also applies to the sound quality, because at times the sound quality has to be refined. It all undergoes an editing process. So the editor has to sit down and follow through again the program structure, how it was structured, and give you a final process that looks exactly as what was envisioned on paperwork with regards to the proposal.
And time now for a review of the headlines. Michael Kiche joins us now to look through some of the front pages. I promise you I was going to give you credit.
Right.
Didn't I? Before February.
Yeah.
I'm Michael Kiche, journalist by profession, and you are watching Hope Channel Kenya. The program is The Zeal. Keep the passion, the desire, the fire burning. Whatever you do, just have the zeal. Keep the energy, the hopes, keep them high. And that is what will take you to places.